The Hall of Measures did not whisper. It breathed. A low, living hum moved through the vast chamber as thousands of voices, tones, clicks, and frequencies layered into something almost organic. The domed ceiling arched high above, a lattice of transparent alloy revealing a cold field of stars beyond. Beneath it, tiers of seating curved inward in perfect symmetry, every line designed to pull attention toward the center. Commander Elias Vare stood among the sole delegation, hands clasped behind his back, posture relaxed in a way that wasn't. He had learned long ago that stillness unsettled observers more than motion. Crowded, Ambassador Leora Chun murmured beside him, her gaze scanning the tiers. Even for a full evaluation. Elias didn't look away from the central platform. They're not here for the ceremony. No, she said. They're here for us. At the center of the chamber, a circular dais of polished metal and glass waited in quiet readiness. Embedded conduits pulsed faintly beneath its surface, lines of soft blue light tracing radial patterns like veins. Above it hovered a transparent cubic frame, empty for now but not for long. Across the arena, in a raised section reserved for strategic blocks, Elias spotted High Stratarch Kaler then. The Varkush leader stood with his hands folded in front of him, chin slightly lifted, expression composed to the point of austerity. He wasn't speaking. He didn't need to. Presence was enough. He's already decided what this means, Elias said. Chin followed his gaze. He always does. And if the number isn't his liking? It won't be the number that matters, she replied. It will be what he can make others believe it means. Elias exhaled slowly. That, more than anything, worried him. A sharp tonal chime cut through the chamber. Conversation dropped instantly, as though the hall itself had commanded silence. The central platform ignited. Light gathered, condensed, and rose in a narrow column. It shimmered once, then stabilized into a vertical beam that fed directly into the hovering cube. The transparent structure filled with shifting geometries, lines, symbols, patterns folding into one another too quickly for the eye to fully track. The Judicator engine had begun. Its voice did not echo. It did not need to. It arrived everywhere at once, clear and measured, devoid of emphasis. Evaluation's sequence initiated. Subject designation, soul union, self-identified as humanity. Elias felt the weight of 1,000 unseen lenses settle over the human delegation. The AI continued. Assessment parameters, civilizational stability, technological progression, expansion patterns, internal cohesion, conflict frequency, adaptive recovery, ethical variability, and long-term survivability projections. A pause followed, not hesitation, but structure. Historical overview. Humanity exhibits extreme internal conflict cycles. Documented self-inflicted catastrophes include planetary-scale warfare, environmental destabilization, ideological fragmentation, and systemic collapse. A ripple moved through the audience. Not outrage. Recognition. Elias didn't react. None of it was wrong. Counterpoint. Humanity demonstrates accelerated recovery following collapse events. Reconstruction intervals are significantly shorter than galactic median. Institutional regeneration occurs despite incomplete resolution of prior conflicts. Chen's voice dropped to a whisper. They're emphasizing contradictions. They're mapping them, Elias said quietly. Cultural analysis. High variability across subgroups. Persistent divergence in governance, belief systems, and social structures. Intergroup conflict probability remains elevated. A soft murmur spread again. Some delegates shifted, as though the description itself carried discomfort. Counterpoint. Cross-cultural integration success rate exceeds predictive models. Former adversarial factions reintegrate at statistically anomalous frequencies. Elias allowed himself a faint, humorless smile. They're confused. No, he said. They're trying to understand something that doesn't behave. The AI continued without pause. Technological progression, nonlinear. Innovation spikes correlate with crisis periods. Improvisational problem-solving capacity exceeds baseline models. Military capacity, high. Strategic doctrine adaptable. Escalation thresholds inconsistent. Restraint parameters variable. At that, a sharper reaction rippled through the chamber. Elias caught Kaler's slight shift, no more than a fraction, but deliberate. There it was, the line that mattered. Ethical assessment, fluctuating. Documented instances of extreme aggression and extensive compassion. Behavioral duality persistent across historical record. Silence followed. Not the controlled quiet of protocol, but something heavier. Something uncertain. Elias felt it settle into the room, a question no one had yet voiced. What does that make them? The Judicator engine did not answer immediately. The data within the cube shifted, accelerating, compressing into tighter formations. For a moment, the structure seemed to fracture under the weight of its own complexity. Then, composite evaluation calculated. The chamber leaned forward as one. Final rating. A fraction of a second stretched, held, sharpened. 11. Nothing moved. No sound. No breath. No reaction. The number hung in the air, luminous and impossible. Elias blinked once, certain he had misheard. Beside him, Chen's composure cracked just enough for her voice to escape. It's not on the scale, Elias finished. Across the hall, the first voice rose. Error. Then another. Invalid output. Recalibration required. The silence shattered. Delegates surged to their feet. Voices layered into chaos. Demands, accusations, procedural overrides firing in rapid succession. The hum returned, no longer organic, but fractured, sharp. At the center, the cube held steady, its glowing numeral unchanged. Kaler then stepped forward. The movement alone was enough to draw attention. His voice, when it came, cut through the noise with surgical precision. Judicator engine, he said, each word controlled. The rating exceeds defined parameters. Clarify. The chamber quieted, drawn by authority as much as necessity. The AI responded instantly. The rating is accurate. Kaler's gaze did not waver. Accuracy is irrelevant if the framework is violated. Your scale terminates at 10. Correction, the AI replied. The scale terminates at 10 under prior assumptions. A ripple of unease moved through the tiers. Assumptions, Kaler repeated, are not outcomes. They are, the AI said, when proven incomplete. Elias felt the shift. Not in the room, but in the meaning. This wasn't a miscalculation. It was a revision. Kaler's expression tightened, just slightly. Then you are declaring the model flawed. I am declaring it insufficient. That did it. Voices surged again, louder this time, sharper with something close to fear. Procedural alarms activated, signaling emergency review motions. Data streams flooded the chamber, analysts scrambling to parse what had just occurred. Elias didn't move. He watched the number. 11. Not higher, not exaggerated. Just outside. Chun turned to him. Urgency replacing composure. We need to respond. Control the narrative before. Before what? Elias asked. Before they decide what this means. He looked at her then, really looked. They already have. Her expression tightened. And Elias turned his gaze back to the center. Whatever it is, he said quietly, they're going to assume it's dangerous. As if on cue, Kaler spoke again. This evaluation, he said, voice carrying across the chamber, cannot stand without full disclosure of methodology and data sources. I move for immediate suspension of the rating and containment review of the subject civilization, pending verification. There it was. Not outrage. Action. Support came quickly. Not unanimous, but enough. Enough to matter. Elias felt a cold clarity settle over him. This wasn't about the number. It was about what came next. Above the platform, the cube pulsed once, the light intensifying. The rating will not be suspended, the Judicator engine stated. The chamber froze again. Further explanation, it continued, requires access to restricted historical records. Every gaze shifted, toward the sole delegation, toward Elias. He felt it land like weight. Chun leaned closer. Don't say anything yet. Elias didn't answer. He was already thinking ahead. Fleets would move. Markets would shift. Alliances would fracture. All because of a number no one understood. He looked once more at the glowing cube. 11. Not a victory. A warning. And somewhere, buried beneath the rising noise and the tightening lines of political intent, a single thought surfaced, clear and unavoidable. Whatever the AI had seen, the galaxy was about to find out. And it wasn't ready. The Hall of Measures no longer felt ceremonial. Its symmetry remained intact, its lighting unchanged, but the atmosphere had hardened. Voices were sharper now, layered with urgency instead of curiosity. What had been a gathering had become a pressure chamber. Commander Elias Vare stood where he had before, though the room itself seemed to have shifted around him. The sole delegation remained composed by necessity, but the tension beneath their restraint was visible in the smallest movements, tightened hands, clipped breaths, eyes tracking every exchange. Above the central dais, the cube still hovered. The number had not changed. 11. It no longer felt like an announcement. It felt like a challenge. A directive pulse signaled the reconvening of the assembly. The noise dropped again, though this time it resisted, like something forced into silence. The Judicator engine spoke. Emergency clarification protocol engaged. No preamble. No ceremony. A voice from the upper tiers cut in immediately. Define the basis of the rating deviation. Another followed, sharper. Identify the category exceeding standard limits. The AI responded without pause. No individual category exceeded 10. A ripple of confusion spread instantly. Then the output is inconsistent, someone snapped. Incorrect, the AI replied. The output reflects composite evaluation. Elias watched the reactions unfold: frustration, disbelief, calculation. No one liked answers that required reinterpretation. A slender figure rose from a mid-tier section, her posture precise, voice controlled. Clarify composite parameters, she said. Your standard metrics are independent. Correction, the AI said. They are weighted. Elias recognized her, Professor Centel, a Concord historian, known for dismantling accepted frameworks with quiet precision. Weighted toward what? She asked. Long-term survivability, the AI answered. And adaptive continuity under stress. Silence followed, not confusion this time, but hesitation. Sun Tal tilted her head slightly. You are suggesting the rating reflects not present condition, but persistence across time. Affirmative. Elias felt chin shift beside him. That's not how anyone uses the system, she murmured. That's not how anyone needed to, he replied. Across the chamber, Kaler then stepped forward again, measured, deliberate. Survivability is already accounted for, he said. It does not justify deviation beyond scale. The AI responded, unchanged in tone. Existing models measure stability. Humanity does not conform to stability-based projections. A pause. Then, humanity persists despite instability. That landed differently. Elias saw it in the room. The subtle recalibration. Not acceptance, but attention. Sun Tel spoke again, softer now, as if thinking aloud. Most civilizations reduce variance over time. They stabilize structures, eliminate inefficiencies, converge toward uniformity. Yes, the AI confirmed. And humanity, she asked. Humanity does not converge. The words settled heavily. Instead, the AI continued. Humanity expands internal variability while maintaining systemic continuity. A murmur returned, lower this time, threaded with unease. That's contradictory, a delegate called out. Correct, the AI said. Elias almost smiled. Sun Tal's eyes sharpened. You're not measuring stability, she said. You're measuring recovery. Clarification, the AI responded. Recovery is the dominant factor in long-term survival. Chun leaned closer to Elias. They're reframing the entire model. They're exposing it, he said. Kaler's voice cut across the chamber again. Recovery implies failure, he said. Repeated failure indicates systemic weakness. Elias turned slightly, watching him. The AI answered. Repeated recovery indicates systemic resilience. Kaler did not react outwardly, but the shift in his stance was enough. Resilience without predictability is a threat. Predictability is not required for survival, the AI said. For coexistence it is, Kaler replied. There it was. Not an argument about numbers. An argument about trust. The chamber absorbed it. Elias stepped forward before he fully decided to. Then define the threshold, he said, voice steady. All eyes turned. What level of unpredictability becomes unacceptable, he continued. And who sets that line? Kaler's gaze locked onto him. Civilizations that do not destabilize others. Elias held it. And those that do? They are contained, Kaler said simply. A quiet fell between them. Not hostile. Not yet. Measured. Sun Tao broke it. Containment based on what? She asked. Fear?
Projection?
Incomplete understanding. Kaler did not look at her. Containment based on risk. Risk of what? Elias asked. Kaler's answer came, without hesitation. Escalation beyond control. Elias nodded once, slow. Then you're not reacting to what we've done. Kaler's eyes narrowed slightly. You're reacting to what you think we could do, Elias finished. That hit harder than he expected. For a moment no one spoke. Then the AI intervened. Clarification required, it said. Assessment data incomplete, without historical disclosure. The chamber shifted again, sharper this time. Define disclosure, Chen said carefully. Restricted records, the AI replied. Events influencing composite survivability assessment. Elias felt the weight return, heavier now. This was the line. Around him, Seoul representatives exchanged brief, coded glances. Decisions moved quickly in silence. Chen's voice dropped, controlled. If we authorize this, we lose control of the narrative. We already lost it, Elias said. Not entirely. He shook his head. They're filling the gaps with fear. That's worse. Across the chamber, Kaler spoke again, quieter now but no less forceful. Any data influencing a rating beyond scale must be subject to full review, he said. Failure to disclose constitutes grounds for nullification. Support followed, not unanimous but growing. Pressure, Elias realized, was no longer external. It was converging. Sun Tao spoke once more, her tone measured but firm. If the data exists, withholding it only validates suspicion. Chen exhaled slowly. That's convenient. It's inevitable, Sun Tao replied. Elias closed his eyes for a fraction of a second. He thought of classified reports. Operations buried beneath layers of clearance. Decisions made in isolation because no one else could afford the cost. He thought of outcomes no one celebrated. And he understood. The number wasn't built on what humanity showed. It was built on what it didn't. He opened his eyes. We authorize limited release, he said. Chun turned sharply. Elias. We don't have time for perfect control, he said quietly. Only damage mitigation. The chamber stilled as the declaration registered. The AI responded immediately. Authorization acknowledged. Data preparation initiated. A low vibration moved through the dais as the cube shifted, its internal structures reorganizing, condensing into new forms. Elias felt the room tighten again, not chaotic this time, but focused. Waiting. Kaler watched him without expression. You are confident this will resolve uncertainty? Elias met his gaze.
No.
A pause. But it might replace it with understanding. Kaler's eyes hardened slightly. Those are not the same. Elias didn't disagree. Around them, transmission channels activated, observers leaning forward, systems recalibrating to capture what was coming. The AI spoke again. Historical record 1. Pending release. Elias drew a slow breath. This was it. Not explanation. Not justification. Revelation. And as the first fragments of hidden history began to surface, one truth settled into place with quiet certainty. Whatever the galaxy believed about humanity now, it was about to change. Not because of the number, but because of what that number meant. The cube did not flare. It settled. Light within it thinned to a clear lattice, as if the data had decided to speak plainly. The hall quieted in a way that felt deliberate, like a room holding its breath before a verdict. Historical Record 1, the Judicator engine said. Designation: Heliox containment. The lattice unfolded into a field of images, grainy at first, then sharpening. A world appeared, its atmosphere a dull, sickened amber. Orbital platforms hung dark and unresponsive. Below, cities glowed in patches, not with life, but with emergency grids running at the edge of collapse. Pathogen vector. Airborne, self-modifying, the AI continued. Mortality projection, 92% within 3 cycles. A murmur moved through the tiers. A second image overlaid the first, sleek human vessels sliding into orbit, hulls marked with medical insignia rather than weapons. Docking clamps extended toward failing stations. Recipient civilization, viral compact, the AI said. Prior diplomatic status, hostile. Trade sanctions active. Border conflicts recorded. Elias heard a low intake of breath from somewhere behind him. Human response. Intervention initiated without formal request. Footage shifted. Inside a station, corridors lined with bodies, some still, some barely moving. Figures in sealed suits moved among them, efficient, precise. Their suits bore no rank markings, only a single emblem: soul. Containment success achieved, the AI said. Infection risk to intervention force, high. Casualty rate, significant. Numbers scrolled beside the image. Percentages, counts, loss ratios. Elias did not read them. He knew the type of figures. He had signed reports like that. Post-operation action. Withdrawal, the AI concluded. No territorial claim. No political demand. The image faded. For a moment, no one spoke. Then a voice broke through. Why was this not disclosed? Elias did not turn. The question was not directed at him, but it landed anyway. Because it wasn't currency, he said under his breath. Chun glanced at him. And now it is. Now it's evidence, he replied. Across the chamber, Kaler's expression had not changed. One instance does not justify systemic deviation, he said. Altruism is not unique. Correct, the AI replied. Proceeding. Historical Record 2. Designation: Ash Frontier Engagement. The cube shifted again. This time the image was darker, space, deep and unlit, broken by drifting debris fields and the faint outlines of derelict structures. Then movement. Something vast emerged from shadow, angular, segmented, unmistakably artificial. A machine fleet, cold and silent, advancing without signal or pattern. Threat classification: autonomous war construct, the AI said. Origin: pre-Concord relic system. Activation event: unknown. The next frame cut to human vessels, smaller, fewer but positioned with intent. No formation broadcasts, no alliance markers. Engagement duration: 13 standard years. A ripple of disbelief moved through the hall. Engagement visibility: none. Elias felt the weight of that word settle. None. The images accelerated. Flashes of combat, bursts of light swallowed by darkness, ships breaking apart, others taking their place. No grand battle lines. No spectacle. Just persistence. Objective: containment, the AI said. Outcome: threat neutralized. Numbers followed: losses, resources, time. Again, Elias did not read them. He remembered enough. Public record: absent. A voice from the upper tiers cut in, sharp. You are claiming an unreported war of that scale occurred without detection? Affirmative, the AI said. That is implausible. Correction, the AI replied. It is improbable. It occurred. Silence pressed in. Elias felt it shift again, not confusion now, but recalculation. The kind that came when assumptions began to fracture. Kaler stepped forward, measured as ever. If accurate, he said, this demonstrates concealed military capability. Strategic opacity of that magnitude constitutes a direct threat to interstellar stability. Elias almost laughed. Not because it was wrong, because it was incomplete. The AI did not respond to Kaler. It moved on. Historical Record 3. Designation: Post-conflict reconstruction. Carthos Accord. The image changed once more. A battlefield, scarred terrain, wreckage scattered across a horizon that stretched too far. Smoke rose in thin, fading lines. The aftermath of something decisive. Conflict participants, Seoul Union and Carthos Coalition, the AI said. Initiation. Coalition offensive against human settlements. Outcome. Coalition defeat. The next sequence showed something unexpected. Human personnel moving through ruined cities, not as occupiers, but as builders. Structures rising where there had been none. Supply lines established. Medical units deployed. Post-conflict action. Reconstruction initiated. The AI continued. Civilians stabilized. Infrastructure restored. A delegate's voice cut in, incredulous. Why? Elias turned slightly this time, not enough to identify the speaker, but enough to answer. Because leaving them broken would have meant doing it again, he said. The AI continued. Territorial annexation, none. Governance imposition, none. Withdrawal executed upon stabilization. The image faded, leaving the cube clear again. The hall did not erupt this time. It absorbed. That was worse. Elias felt it in the stillness, a collective effort to reconcile what had just been shown with what had always been believed. They could have taken everything, someone said, almost to themselves. They didn't, another replied. Which means they chose not to. And that means they can choose otherwise. There it was. The pivot. Kaler's voice followed, calm, controlled, precise. You have demonstrated capacity, he said. You have demonstrated restraint. Neither negates the other. He turned his gaze fully to Elias now. It reinforces the risk. Elias met it. Only if you assume restraint is temporary, he said. Is it not? Kaler asked. Elias considered the question. Not rhetorically. Not defensively. Honestly. It can be, he said. A murmur followed that, quiet, but sharp. Chen's head snapped toward him. Elias. He didn't look at her. But it hasn't been, he continued. Not when it mattered most. Kaler's eyes narrowed slightly. History does not guarantee future behavior. No, Elias said. But it informs it. He stepped forward, just enough to be seen, not enough to challenge the space. We've done damage, he said. Plenty of it. To ourselves. To others. We're not pretending otherwise. The hall listened. But every time we had the option to end something permanently, wipe it out, erase it, we didn't. He let that sit. Not because we couldn't, he added. Because we chose not to. Kaler's expression remained unchanged, but something behind it shifted. Calculation, not concession. A choice can change, he said. Elias nodded. So can a pattern. The two statements hung between them. The AI spoke again. Composite analysis indicates recurring behavioral convergence under critical conditions. Sun Tao's voice followed, quiet but clear. Meaning? Under existential threat, the AI said, humanity prioritizes preservation of broader systems over immediate dominance. The chamber absorbed that. Preservation, not victory. Elias exhaled slowly. It wasn't a defense. It was a description. Around them, data streams continued to flow, analysts parsing, delegates recalibrating positions in real time. The tension had not eased. It had deepened, because now the unknown had shape, and shape could be feared. Kaler turned away first, speaking to his aide in low, rapid tones. Orders, Elias guessed. Adjustments. Contingencies. Chun leaned closer. You didn't deny it, she said. I didn't need to, Elias replied. And if they don't believe you? Elias looked back at the cube. They don't have to, he said. The light within it shifted again, preparing. Final explanation pending, the AI announced. The words carried weight, not because of what they said, because of what they implied. This wasn't the conclusion. It was the threshold. Elias felt it settle into place, clear and unavoidable. The truth hadn't calmed the room. It had clarified the stakes. And somewhere beyond the hall, beyond the measured calm of protocol and controlled voices, fleets were already moving. War was no longer a distant possibility. It was a decision waiting to be made. Elias straightened slightly, shoulders settling into familiar readiness. Whatever came next, it would not be decided by the number. It would be decided by what the galaxy chose to do with it. The Hall of Measures felt smaller. Not in structure, its vast tiers still curved upward beneath the starlit dome, but in certainty. The space that had once carried authority now held hesitation. Data streams floated in layered arcs above the central dais, each one tracking fleet movements, economic shifts, alliance signals. The galaxy was no longer watching. It was reacting. Commander Elias Vare stood motionless as updates scrolled across his peripheral display. Coalition vessels had formed a loose perimeter across 3 major transit corridors. Not a blockade yet. Not officially. But close enough. Chen's voice came low. Containment lines are stabilizing. They're calling it precautionary positioning. Elias didn't look away from the cube. Of course they are. If they tighten those lanes, she said, we're isolated within 6 hours. Not isolated, he corrected. Provoked. She exhaled, sharp but contained. That's a distinction they won't care about. Across the chamber, Kaler then stood at the center of a cluster of military envoys. His posture had not changed, upright, composed, but the stillness carried intention now. Orders had already been given. This was not debate for him. This was execution. A tone pulsed through the hall, cutting across every channel. It wasn't loud, but it was absolute. The judicator engine spoke. Final assembly required. The chamber quieted immediately, though the tension did not recede. It sharpened, pulling every gaze toward the central platform. Escalation threshold approaching. The AI continued. Further action without full clarification increases probability of systemic conflict. Kaler stepped forward before anyone else could respond. Conflict probability is already elevated, he said. Your rating has destabilized the balance. Correction, the AI replied. The rating has revealed an existing imbalance. A flicker crossed Kaler's expression, not anger, but resistance. Then correct it, he said. I am, the AI answered. The cube above the dais shifted again, its inner structure condensing, simplifying. No cascading data this time. No layered projections. Just a single steady form. The number remained. 11. Elias felt the weight of it differently now. Not as anomaly. As definition. Explain the deviation. Kaler said, voice steady, controlled. Fully. The AI complied. The original evaluation model assumes civilizational advancement correlates with reduction of internal contradiction. A pause. This assumption is incomplete. The chamber stilled. Humanity exhibits sustained internal contradiction without systemic collapse, the AI continued. Aggression coexists with empathy. Fragmentation coexists with unity under stress. Historical self-destruction coexists with accelerated reconstruction. Sun Tao leaned forward slightly, her voice quiet but focused. You're saying contradiction isn't failure. Correct, the AI said. It is a condition. Elias felt something settle in the room. Not agreement, but recognition. Most civilizations, the AI continued, optimize toward stability. Variability decreases over time. Risk is minimized. Systems converge. And humanity? Chin asked almost under her breath. Humanity expands variability, the AI said. Risk is distributed across divergent structures. Systemic failure in one domain does not propagate universally. A delegate spoke up, incredulous. That is inefficiency. It is redundancy, Sun Tao replied before the AI could. They don't collapse because nothing exists in a single form. The AI confirmed. Redundancy increases survivability. Kaler's voice cut in again. Redundancy also increases unpredictability. Yes, the AI said. And unpredictability, Kaler continued, is the primary driver of conflict. Elias turned slightly, finally stepping forward into clear view. Only if you assume unpredictability equals hostility, he said. Kaler's gaze locked onto him. It equals risk. Elias nodded once. So does strength. The two statements hung between them. The AI resumed. Final evaluation metric, adaptive ethical continuity. A ripple of confusion moved through the chamber. Define, Santel said. Adaptive ethical continuity measures the persistence of moral decision-making across changing conditions, the AI explained. Specifically, the probability that a civilization retains non-destructive behavioral options under extreme stress. Elias felt chin shift beside him. That's new. It's not, he said quietly. We just never measured it. The AI continued. Humanity demonstrates consistent reemergence of non-terminal strategies following high-conflict events. Despite capacity for total destruction, termination outcomes are not the dominant resolution pattern. A voice from the upper tiers rose, sharp. They have chosen restraint. Another followed, quieter. Repeatedly. Kaler did not move. And they can choose otherwise, he said. Yes, the AI replied. The word landed hard. Elias didn't flinch. That is the point, the AI continued. Capacity for destruction combined with repeated selection of non-terminal outcomes constitutes a deviation from standard civilizational models. Sun Tao's eyes widened slightly. You're not rating what they are, she said. You're rating what they refuse to become. Affirmative. Silence spread, deeper than before. Not confusion. Understanding. Elias stepped forward another pace, voice steady. We're not stable, he said. We never were. We break things. Sometimes we break ourselves. No one interrupted. But we rebuild, he continued. Not perfectly, not cleanly, but we do it anyway. He looked directly at Kaler. And when we had the chance to end something completely, to erase it, we didn't. Kaler's expression remained controlled, but something beneath it shifted, calculation giving way to realization. That is not assurance, he said. No, Elias agreed. It's evidence. A pause. Evidence of what? Kaler asked. Elias held his gaze. Of choice. The word lingered. The AI spoke again. Rating designation 11 indicates model deviation. Humanity exceeds predictive limits of stability-based evaluation. New classification required. The chamber absorbed that slowly. Not superior. Not dominant. Unaccounted for. Kaler turned slightly, glancing at the data stream still hovering above the chamber. Fleet positions, movement vectors, engagement probabilities. Elias followed his gaze. If you proceed, Elias said quietly, you force the outcome you're afraid of. Kaler did not look at him. Or prevent it. Elias shook his head once. You don't prevent something by proving it necessary. That landed. For the first time, Kaler hesitated. Not outwardly. His posture remained precise, but the delay was there. A fraction of a second longer than before. The AI spoke into that space. Conflict projection updated. It said. Initiation probability decreased if engagement is avoided. A beat. Outcome probability. Catastrophic for initiating coalition. The chamber shifted again, not in panic, but in recalibration. The data was clear. The implication clearer. Kaler exhaled slowly. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. Not weaker. Sharper. You are asking us to trust a system we do not control, he said. The AI responded. You are asked to recognize a system you did not understand. Kaler turned back to Elias. And you, he asked. What do you ask? Elias didn't hesitate. Don't make us prove the part you're afraid of, he said. No threat. No edge. Just certainty. The silence that followed was complete. Then slowly Kaler nodded once. A small movement. Decisive. He turned to his aide. Stand down forward positioning, he said. Maintain observation only. The order moved fast, faster than the tension could return. Data streams shifted. Vectors adjusted. The tightening lines across the transit corridors loosened. Not gone, but no longer closing. Elias exhaled, tension easing just enough to breathe. Around them, the chamber remained quiet, but the quality had changed. The fear had not vanished. It had been replaced by something harder. Understanding. Sun Tao spoke softly, almost to herself. It wasn't strength. Elias glanced at her. It was survival, she said. On their own terms. Elias looked back at the cube. 11. Not a number. A threshold. The AI's voice came one final time. Evaluation complete. No applause followed. No celebration. Just a shift, subtle, irreversible. The galaxy had not been convinced. It had been shown. And for the first time since the number appeared, Elias understood why it had never been meant to reassure. It had been meant to explain, not what humanity was, but what it had endured and chosen to remain after.